27 August 2022 new background, considering you know those cultures that survived some way, and they are not so developed as, for instance, the drivers on Western, or ancient cultures on Asia that operates at the capitalism as real capitalism. But you know they survived some way, and we are offering a case as cultural destruction, which includes the culture as judicial culture, when the judges, since the ancient home as the regular citizen, they kind of has as the common value the prudential motivation in things they made. And when they lost this, they kind of got so promiscuous that home got down and was the greatest empire on history. We offered these electoral crimes, the cross-cut, considering the issue or object under the observation election. Brazil, USA, USA, Brazil Security Forum, driver, alpha issues inside, distortion as common by corruption, distribution of value, corruption negative one, inside issues. We use this board here to do the taxonomy. The machine do this very fast. It's a machine with oriented program language. They will track the negative one and will have the association from the negative one as before and after. And by the interaction as after based on before, it's projected, and if you are doing analysis, it's named trendy analysis. The new tracer quadrants by institutions, segmented as special types of activity, divided in public and corporate, but by trend as chaser or tracer or tracker negative one, indeed will allow us to observe which airs are very comfortable with the cultural destruction, considering 00 or positive one. In both cases, the corruption affected we all and destroy our culture, especially the cultural difference that made me has interest on that kind of background, because they are primal and they remain. Then we will observe that on present time we are having our charge considering the 37 trillion, and was exposed to you, Mr. My dear criminal, that we have 0 up to 37 with the S33 and 37 as the extra index, but indeed will happen here, 4 trillion as research. Judicial research, if and it's projected equally in the same way to you understand how your behavior confirmed here will be here projected on present time 2022, preventive control 2028. We are doing the operation using a machine. Indeed, the machine is flawless, especially by the optimizations made which puts this instrument in another level as something that you never consider exist. The function then suggests capacity between observing the relation as behavior between debit and credit issued by risks will give and puts ourselves at the construction as this relation. In my case, as basic rights and guarantee violated allow it be to claim a compensation, but I can claim with the offender if is the public department with corporations linked with by the interest on gain public budget and by the Constitution on Article 1, Item 4 has my free will. The freedom of thoughts and intellectual asset applied which has the protection considering that there are no cases to allow the violation as communication in the way you did. I can claim a compensation on Article 5, Item 5 and have the strike back in the limits of the aggression I suffered, and I can have the delegation of this to someone able to do this. And I will charge you the credit plus the interest on it. The legitimacy to act indeed calls them at the trial. The trial is closed, is concluded, and the relation of debt and credit it's not issued anymore by the steps forward that we are taking today, one more time, and we will have in mind that, for instance, let's suppose Brazil would like to do not pay this, and we will have the conjuncture with the establishment on it prepared to do the application of the law, considering the interest that holds this kind of conjuncture, qualified as triple qualification as junkie. Junkie means a piece of shit. By the shit, people inside occupying chairs, unable to have the resignation or to be dismissed. And then you will say that the problem is my research. But your failure comes since 1988. Let's suppose I have 8 years old and your fails is still on the demand, I would say, as a solution to the problems you do and create for everybody, especially by the International Association on your instrument of control that you use it to commit crimes. And expose the transnational organized crime in a level that we'll never forget. Many of them, if they achieve this chance, will be at this boat launched on 2022, preventive control 2028, middle of the cycle as trials and judgment 2024, Asia, Europe, America and Central America and others. Then we will check that if you'd like to have this as domain of circumstance to commit crimes and having the domain as influence and doing the insider trading and all things, considering the corruption as direction which is the main guideline of your own purpose, projected and considering that the scenario will be ruled by you, your peers and interests, and it doesn't matter who you are, as I told before, the election in Brazil will have a stamp. It's a debtor system with criminals inside exposed by the behavior as risky and the analysis of this debt, which is, linked with the offenders. Offensive behavior against the research hurting interest made by chairs, the same chairs doing the protection as continuity of transnational organized crime occupying chairs only happen by the chairs occupied. If you dismiss, this chair must be filled by someone else that will lead to the owner of the scams one more time. And we will check that the establishment inside my environment has the domain of circumstance using the corruption, which will offer the scam. Someone will operate this scam, then will bust them and cut the operators, which is the basic level, and then you replace them doing this all the time, considering that you are keeping your criminal scam renewed, I'd say, reborn, or something like this. But you are doing this in general by abuses, especially to protect crimes at the past, do not suffer the legal consequence projected at the future that indeed is our current time, because this complaint comes since 2018. It means that you are a circle as establishment with the domain of all things inside a square. Curious thing. Now, let's use, first, let's suppose that you have an international company named IBM. The IBM has the Deep Blue. The Deep Blue failed at the 80s by failed inside. The continuity of failures put the company in a terrible situation, got associated with investors all around, and had the new design suggested as projection to be at the present time hunting, you know, things all around the globe, and by the new design, which can't be something not respecting the statement of this company and the constitution that this company must follow as an American company, you will understand that this kind of view using the deep blue that in and the quantum research indeed won't be used for only for cartoons, I would say, but to present this chart kind of as three dimension. Three dimension, it implies something like this, and then you can use this chart here as this square with the establishment inside, putting as something like this with this circle projected here and having the domain as top by the kind of uh, law you created to dismiss people using vulnerables and replace and have the increasement as establishment by the chess replaced, considering the interest you have and you have the domain of the entire thing projected as continental by crimes as corruption, transnational organized crime impacting America in the same way, with sometimes linkage at Europe, especially on influence, for instance, on Paris mayor election and home mayor election, and having kind of issues on present time on America maybe. Then you are projected here as the establishment, and using the legal system you will have your range as domain circling this situation here. But to be like this, the decision must achieve the establishment as the main with the supremacy of decision, considered that can put all institutions down and premise even at the state. And the proud of this state is going down the dumps, saying that the problem is my research, despite the problem came since 1988, because you are a liar, you are lying. Then, but if you are lying and you are having this lie based on procedure, and your procedure was under the analysis by obstruction of justice, you are in blazing act as obstruction of justice to do not suffer the causal relation as consequence as naturalistic behavior and result by things you did. Indeed, you are having an advantage by public department on your law 7850 article 1, 2 and 3. It's named white collar crime on America. And when you present the criminal scams by the public charge you have, they must be strictly legal, 1 positive 1. And then when we ask you about all this, you are showing contradiction and conflict of interest, white collar crime in America in the same way. Do you consider that you will be on trial now by white collar crime? What do you think, my friend? See, your scam indeed happened before. You use the corruption, considering the corruption observed as the quality you need to put here and have the domain of circumstance setting a systemic crime. And now you'd like to have the systemic crime with a new perception as a criminal system, indeed as a conjuncture, with interaction as continental mobilization to threat other state. I think that you will be in a deep shit one more time. Have a nice weekend. It's Saturday.